Good morning, everyone. It is Caffeine Corner. We have caffeine today, and we're ready to go. We're ready to teach you all about how to lie. Lie, because we're professional liars. That's all we do is lie, lie, lie. Right, Chesh? We're just liars.
Steve is the best at lying.
I am the best at lying. I'm so good at lying. I don't even know when I'm doing it. People have to tell me. That's good. That's amazing.
Steve can't lie worth shit.
People have told me that. You're not the first to notice that. I am a really bad liar. And I mean, there are times to lie. Don't get me wrong. Again, it's philosophically speaking, you can't be brute honesty with people. You don't want to hurt their feelings. So there are virtuous lies, but I suck at those. Really bad.
Oh, he's bad.
Yeah.
He cannot keep a straight face. It's also like so easy to catch him if he's like trying to not say something because he almost.
I prevaricate. I admit that sometimes because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings mostly,
Well, he's so okay. So Steve, the thing is that like you're so open about everything that goes on in your life all of the time to everyone forever. It's like, dude, nobody cares.
And people have good memories too and shit. So I could get away with anything, right? People have damn good memories.
Oh,
they remember shit I don't remember.
The internet remembers.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm telling you, they remember like timestamps. Hey, do you remember this video and this timestamp? I'm like, how the hell do you remember this? I don't recall, but yeah. But anyways, how are you doing today, Chesh?
Oh, I'm actually doing pretty good today. I got some candles, and they have been a godsend, and I'm super happy with them.
I like candles.
And
I like scented candles.
yeah, somebody sent me some, and they're wonderful. I need to vacuum, but other than that.
Yeah, I actually, as you know, I'm remodeling my room here a little bit. I took out my carpet, so I don't have to vacuum. I just ripped the whole thing out and went to a solid floor. But I gotta tell you, it makes a big difference having no carpet because you don't have to like vacuum all the freaking time. So yeah, hard floor.
I have one carpet, and it's like it's an old carpet. It's not really like it's decently maintained, but it's just an old carpet, and so it needs to be vacuumed. But I brought it with me when I went from my mom's house because one, there's Puck. She didn't want it anymore. It's a pain to clean because it's those squarey things, it's those squares, and it's hard to vacuum. But I mostly brought it for the dog because he really likes it. So
yeah,
I've kept it
just like plush stuff. Like we have an oversized comfy chair here that this dog, the landlord's dog, loves to sit in. But he knows it too. You say get in the chair, he'll get in there. But he expects to be like petted if he goes on the chair. But anyways, so you guys might be wondering what the hell we're talking about with these lies. Yeah, we're not going to be teaching you how to lie. We're going to actually be like helping you recognize when people are lying, and most of all, what constitutes a lie? Because we hear all the time such and such is lying, and then you go, well, that's not actually a lie, or what is constitutive of a lie, at least philosophically speaking, from a standard approach. But there are variations. There are definitely variations. But what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about it, and I'm going to ask you guys some questions here eventually, and see if you guys can spot the lie, if it's a lie or not. It may be a lie. It may be not a lie.
Right.
I don't know. I sent them to you, but did you go over them?
The questions, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you can answer them? Because you didn't get back to me on the answers, so. They're not that hard, but they might be harder than they seem. Because again, people throw that term around. Oh, such lied.
Yeah, I think once you understand what a lie is pretty easy to tell. But if you don't, then I think that some of the questions will give the audience a little bit of pause.
Possibly. So basically, when we're talking about lying has to meet certain conditions, and there are four major conditions of what. Well, actually, there's five. Well, no, there's four conditions, I guess. Now, these are the standard approach, right? Again, a lot of people were like, well, does a lie require certain things like making a false statement? Well, no, not necessarily, right? It doesn't have to be a false statement. You can lie and make true statements, but the conditions, each one. Kind of go through and talk about to see if you guys can think this is a sufficient condition or necessary. Well, I should say sufficient. No, it's really a necessary condition actually, because all of them together would be sufficient as far as philosophical understanding of lying. But what do you guys think of these conditions? We'll go through them in a second here after the super chat.
I think there's a difference between philosophical conditions for what constitutes a lie and what people colloquial mean, like people
Yes.
mean when they're having discussion. A lot of time people don't necessarily mean when they say you've lied or you lie or this is a lie. What they mean to say is this is dishonest or this isn't 100% true.
Right. Exactly. And there's a big difference between dishonest and lying, even though lying is a form of dishonesty. Christopher Hogan for $5 Australian. I'm so confused where to put my vote for DFOY, Uni or Kyle. Why not both?
You can vote for more than one.
Yeah. You can vote as much as you want.
Yeah. By the way, there's no rules.
Counts as you have time to create.
There's no rules.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. So a couple basics. For a lie to be a lie, it has to have some essential things. It has to communicate some form of information. And it has to be between two people. You cannot lie to an inanimate object. You cannot lie to an animal. There's one subject to another subject. So if I tell Cheshire, I communicate something with her that is a falsehood and attempt to deceive her, that is something that would be partly constitutive of a lie. Although there's again more to it than that. But I can't look at like if she starts like telling her dog something. She's not lying to the dog. It has to be between a person and a person. Again, in a standard approach. Although Bull had a good Bull earlier had a good,
talk no matter what I tell him.
Well, Bull, did you hear Bull? I don't know if you were busy, but Bull had a what he thought was a defeater for that. But I mean, it's a good point. It's again a non-standard approach. Bull, remember what you had said about lying to the dog?
Yeah, I basically said that you can fool a dog or you can deceive a dog by fake throwing a ball while you're playing catch with them. And they run out like you actually threw it. You have deceived the dog.
Yeah, you're trying to convince the dog of something else, right? Which is one of the conditions for lying. You're trying to convince something. Now, again, we hold in these things that they are for personages, right? In ethics, we were trying to convey what is the right approach to do something. But when communicating between subjects, between agents of moral consideration, we're talking about me to somebody else, right? Not a dog that's not really understanding what a lie actually is, right? The dog doesn't know whether it's being lied to or not. It just says, okay, he didn't actually throw, but he's processing in that way, right? He doesn't realize he's being lied to in that context.
That you had no intention of throwing the ball in the first place.
Right. Now he'll eventually probably get sick of it and just bite you,
I mean, Puck is a little bit he doesn't really go for that very well. He kind of waits till he sees it in the air. Like he watches you the whole time. So if you don't let go of the ball, he'll just keep looking at you because he's like,
yeah, they're smart. That's exactly what this one does.
Back.
Well, we call it the toy. And at first I thought when I tell the dog.
And to be fair, it is a game. The deception is part of the game. So, I mean, but it would be cruel to deceive the dog by doing that, get him to run out into the street and get hit by traffic. That would be horrible.
One of the saddest things I think you can do to a dog in particular. So like Puck, for example, if I were to do this, it would be I would think it's kind of just straight up mean. If I get him all hyped up to go to the dog park, because he recognizes these words, he knows what they are. So if I say, oh, we're going to go do this thing, and I get him all hyped up, and he knows what we're doing, and then I just don't do it, and he just gets really sad and upset. There's an intent there, and there is a communication understanding. And in that case, I might say that there might be an indication of some kind of lie taking place.
In the general sense, I would agree with you.
Right, so it's a dog, like it's something that I've conveyed to the dog that he can understand. So I can't tell him he's ugly and lie to him and say he's ugly because he doesn't have any concept of that. But he does have a concept of outside, and he does have the concept of like friends and dog park or whatever. So if you tell him we're going, which he understands, to outside, which he understands, for friends, other dogs, which he understands, then there is a communication there. There might be a gray area where Puck.
Does he understand being a good boy?
You're a good boy. Yeah, look at his tail.
And again, colloquially, I totally agree with you. I have no problem with somebody saying something like, "Yeah, you're lying to the dog." Like Bull gave an example, but philosophically speaking, that doesn't qualify. Okay, we'll get into that condition here in a few. But all right, so lying has to have some kind of information, usually spoken, right? There's some kind of spoken information, but it could be signals. I could lie to somebody in Morse code. I can lie to somebody using spoke signals if I want. A lie is lie. As long as there's some kind of information being conveyed, that is one component of what a lie requires. The other thing is the intent to deceive or mislead somebody, right? That's a big one too. There has to be an intention to try to get somebody to believe something that you want them to believe for whatever reason. I see a lot of times people say, go ahead.
I was going to say that can also be a lack of information. There's the lie of omission.
Well, we're gonna get into that. That's actually a good point. We're gonna get into lie of omission, whether that's actually a lie or not, depending on what model you use. But but there has to be some kind of intent to deceive. And I noticed this is probably one that people throw around the word lie the most. Like, for example, they say, like, Jess and I have lied. None of us have ever tried to deceive anybody. Jess and I, well, okay, I can't. Jess, you may have, but I know from my experience, I know from my experience, I've never tried to mislead anybody, not once. So anybody who says I've lied, they have to understand that there seems to be a huge lacking the condition here of the intent to deceive or mislead. Who have I tried to mislead? Why would I try to mislead them? And what was the deceit on that being misled? And that, I think, is one of the biggest things, if from this video people have a takeaway of when they analyze somebody and they say that they're lying, was there an intent to deceive? Not just they got the information wrong, but a willful intent to mislead people.
Yeah, that's something that I don't generally have I don't attempt to do that. I can't think of, particularly not online, particularly not in where it pertains to this. I've done it in my real life. I've done it in multiple occasions, just testing the waters, particularly when I was in high
every
school.
kid growing up has lied to their parents for whatever reason. Sure.
Oh, I used to just casually lie because it made it more likely, like on just like little things that didn't matter that people were never going to question me on, because it made them more likely to believe me if I made a larger lie later. Now, whether or not I ever ended up taking advantage of it was dependent on the circumstance, but it was essentially I didn't know it at the time because I was a fucking teenager, and I was just like, I'm just good at lying. And then there were times where I was just straight up, it was practice for me because of the situation that I grew up in, that I sort of needed to lie to sort of survive.
Yeah, and I find that to be very common. There are a lot of people that like that, and both benevolently and malevolently.
And that could be said of like coming out too. Those people are not telling their parents about their sexuality because of the consequences of telling them.
Absolutely.
And is it a lie of omission, but it is useful to not tell them for self-preservation. So,
well, I mean, yeah, but if they ask the kid, are you gay? And they say no, that is a lie. But of course, and it is an attempt to mislead. Now, again, there's aspects of lying, of virtuous lies versus malignant lies. Something that's cancerous that you're just going to try to harm people with, right? Those are the worst kind of lies. But I think most people lie either one out of some kind of self-preservation.
Allegations inside the Me Too movement would be a good example of. That is just malicious.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people lie just because they don't want to hurt other people. I think most lies are really kind of what they call white lies. But I don't see a lot of people.
It's a little bit silly of people to think that, or to assume that anything. So there are people who are very sort of what you see is what you get on YouTube. But please, if you're a viewer of YouTube, do not assume whatever it is and whoever it is that you're watching is actually who that person is, because at the end of the day, you don't know them. And it's the same that we see with actors. We heard Mark Pellegrino talk about it. We've seen William Shatner talking about it, how people have these expectations that, oh, this character that you played would be disappointed in you. I'm not that character, so I don't give a shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, these people are not.
What you see is what you get. People? I mean, you and I have spent many hours discussions. Bull and I have spent many hours of discussions. We are what you see, what kind of get people. I don't see. You don't act any different.
But they don't.
off everything that
but
you
the
draw.
audience doesn't know that. The audience doesn't know us personally. That like we try to be as earnest as we can, particularly on the show in our interactions. It doesn't mean we've always been that way. It doesn't mean that we always will be that way. I mean, Steve probably will, and Bull probably will, but I know I've gone through my life and I've changed throughout the days. I don't think I'm that great or that nice of a person, and I don't pretend to be. But at the same time,
Yeah, well, I can be a real asshole when I want to be too, but I get what I get. And I tell people, look, I start you off here. You know, if you come at me sideways, you've already, you know, gone down. You know, the conversation is already, you know, starting to escalate as far as the hyperbole and the rhetoric and stuff like that. But again, I try not to as much as possible. I do want to have most of the time a decent conversation with somebody, but I get occasionally somebody so sideways that I'm like, oh, they don't get any principal charity from me, none. So I'm the same way. To each his own, man. I mean, I don't think we can say there's a one size fits all that everybody has to go to how they approach conversations, right? I mean, I would never try to tell somebody this is the best way to approach a conversation when they might have their own way of doing it, or they just don't want to have certain conversations with certain people. I don't ever want to have a conversation with certain people.
Golden Unicorn for 2 said, I vote for Unirock and Nate for DFOTY, and Boop Puck, ... please, question mark. Puck has been booped.
Don't you have to boop him?
I did boop him. I booped him right when she did it.
Oh, okay.
I'll boop him again. You want to get boop, Puck? Boop. He doesn't like it. He's just like, whatever. It's my life a joke.
The people that I see lie the most, though, other than let me rephrase this. Other than the ones that are willfully trying to harm people, right? The people that are going out of the way to spread false information for character assassination. Other than those, the people that I think lie the most are the ones that don't have good social skills, and they don't know how to interact properly with other people. They're usually sociopaths. They're usually psychopathic. Now, Chester's admitted she has some borderline sociopathic issues, and of course, you know, that falls into play with how she was probably raised. Issues. Well, I mean, you're not the most empathetic person in the world. Let's be honest.
Absolutely not. But I also don't view it as a problem.
You never claimed to be. So, I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's not a character fault. It's just you. But the people that are true sociopaths or even psychopathic, they lack the skills because they lack empathy to know what a genuine response is, and they have to basically have their entire life is dishonest, right? Their entire existence is an act. And so they tell people lies all the time, especially narcissists, because they, one, don't think there's any ramifications, two, don't have any kind of ethical considerations to care whether they harm anybody or not. They don't think it's a bad deal to lie to somebody to save themselves, even in light of overwhelming evidence. You know, we see that quite frequently as well.
There's also like a difference between people who are they aren't necessarily lying. These are people who need to put more effort into trying to understand and learn how to exist in society appropriately, right? So you can make the choice not to, and you can make the choice to just do whatever, but there's going to be ramifications to that. Like you get to make the choice, but if you're going to make the world deal with you, it's kind of like, why are you complaining that the world is dealing with you when you don't like the way it dealt with you? Like, you don't. Sorry. Hanson for 2 said Kyle is DFOTY though, and then Godless Scummer vote Nathan Thompson, make DFOTY great again. And honestly, if that's where we're going, I'm gonna go with, if you want to make DFOTY great again, you need to vote for Raw Matt, because Raw Matt is DFOTY classic.
Raw Matt has done nothing this year compared to everybody else. He's ranked.
That's
low.
why I said he's classic. That's why I said he's classic.
Nah.
He's not doing legal
Raw
stuff.
Matt's a
Maybe not.
Hey, look, they had Anthony Riley last year, so that's Nathan Thompson can win this year. Yeah. All right. So that's one of the big things. The next one is that the liar actually believes what they're saying is not true. And again, this is something that's very much important. If people say, well, you have a pathological liar that believes everything they're lying, are they actually lying? Well, if they actually believe that they're telling the truth, then technically they're not actually lying. But we can say to them they're giving out misinformation, right?
Sure.
But technically, they're not lying if they do actually believe they're lying. What the falsehood, right? The untruth. And so, to lie actually, but
what happens when someone lies to themselves? So it's like information that they know is untrue. They lie to themselves to the point where they're convinced that it's true, and then they're telling other people.
yeah, and also in a standard philosophical approach, you can't lie to yourself. You can only lie to somebody else. Now, I disagree. I'm not a fan of the standard approach for that one of that very reasons. And again, there are many different models of lying. It's if you actually go read about lying, it's very complicated. Okay, this took me a few days to actually parse in my head. I sent it to Chess too, and I don't know if I know you went through some of it. It's not as simple as people make it out to be. What constitutes a lie? But yeah, I think that under the framework that I operate in, which is a non-standard approach, you can lie to yourself by in a more of a colloquial way, right? By self-deceiving yourself, right? But you're not actually telling yourself a lie, So it's a different understanding of the term.
Yeah, well, the thing is like the mind is a powerful thing, and you can pretty much if you're putting in the effort to delude yourself to that degree, you can sort of make yourself believe anything. So when people say that, oh well, you can't convince yourself that you can't make yourself believe that a god exists, you can. It's just not honest. It's just not honestly being convinced or honestly. It's not an honest approach. It is self-delusion. If you were to force
the Turtle
yourself
Moves asked a great question. He says, "Can institution or governments lie?" Actually, in the standard model, no. Standard model requires a person to lie to another person, and so obviously a government. Now, if you consider like a corporate entity, person under the personage, but it's called the addressee condition. The addressee condition is the condition that you are talking to somebody else, right? You're not talking to a lamppost. A government's not talking to you. So, but we understand that, of course, governments do lie, right? And we use the term lie for a very specific reason because they're willfully trying to deceive people and they're putting out misinformation, right? So there are, again, different ways of looking at the particular word in a different context. But in a standard model, then no, it has to be a person to a person in the addressee condition. Okay, so a couple points to note on that, though. You can actually lie by telling the truth. A lie does not have to be false information or a false statement. That's one of the big misconceptions I see. People like, well, can a person? If I tell somebody the truth and they're like, I'm like, well, I didn't lie to you. Well, yeah, actually, you did. If there's an attempt to deceive and okay, how should I put this? Well, you know what? I'll save this for our questions because there's a perfect question on this is to when you can lie by not saying anything or when you can lie by actually telling the truth. Okay, because again, lie doesn't have to be false information. It just has to be the attempt to deceive, right?
Right. So you can give somebody true information, but if it's missing some piece of the information, or if it turns out that information is happens to be correct, unbeknownst to you.
Yeah. All right. And also, a lie doesn't have to be told with malicious intent. Again, there's an attempt to deceive, but not malicious. A white lie would be an example of somebody who has good intentions. For example, if I had a surprise birthday party for Cheshire, and I'm like, "Hey, Cheshire, don't go back to your house. They're fumigating or something." And I said, "Let's go out, hit the mall instead." Yes, I've lied to her, right? That is a white lie for good intentions.
Bad he doesn't lie? What is this garbage?
I do suck at these. I tell people don't
back
know.
to your house.
That's why it's so funny on YouTube when there are people like, "Steve's such a liar." I'm like, my God, you don't know shit about me, do you? That's like if you're gonna come up with a story, at least make it plausible. But yeah, there's no malintent there, right?
Fumigated.
It's still a lie, though. It's still what constitutes a lie. And so there are ethical reasons to lie, right? I have no problem trying to lie like that to Cheshire for a good cause, right? I would totally do that. But the problem is I'm so bad at it. That's what Jess keeps pointing out. She would be like, "Oh, you're throwing a birthday party for me, right?" I'd be like, "Damn."
I'd be like, "What are you doing to my house?"
Exactly. Oh, all right.
I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna find all my CDs in the wrong cases. I'm gonna find saran wrap on my toilet seat. Everything's gonna be TP'd. My drawer that's got my utensils in it is I'm gonna pull it out. It's gonna be upside down.
That would be basically it. Yes.
Dear God.
All right. So, okay. So, Boulin had brought up lie of omission, and again, it depends on who you read. Some philosophers do think a lie of omission is a type of lie. Others think that all lies are what's called lies of commission. A lie of commission would be what we've talked about, where you're telling somebody that's false, you believe it to be false, and you're trying to persuade them to have a belief in misinformation, right? You're trying to, you're basically trying to convince them of something that's not true. Those are called lies of commission. But is a lie of omission a lie? Well, again, it depends on what theory you want to go by. Me, I'm with Boulin. I think a lie of omission isn't actually a lie, but that's a very colloquial understanding of the word. But I have no problem with that. Again, there are times to use colloquial understandings, and there are times to use more academic understandings. And I don't have a problem with that. It's contrary to what people think. It depends on the topic, though.
I'll give you an
There's
example.
no one size fits all.
If somebody puts out a screenshot and people are like, that screenshot is fake. That's been faked. And the person says, I never faked any screenshots in my life. Are they lying? Because
I've never faked one,
thing
so I would be telling the truth.
But the thing is that what's really difficult there is that might not be a lie, and the screenshot can still be fake at the same time. Because they may or may not have known that the screenshot that they're putting out is fake.
Oh yeah. No, if you repeat information that's wrong, but you at the time believe that is correct, that's not a lie.
So if I go and I ask somebody, hey, I need a screenshot that says this, can you make it for me? And then I post it out and people say that's fake, you faked this, and I say I've never faked any screenshots.
Now you're lying.
I'm not lying. Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm lying with a true statement. I'm using a true statement to deceive you with the intention.
Which is an example of an actual lie. This is when you can tell true statements in a lie. Like, in fact, I use the example, in a deposition, if somebody asks, did you steal them, or it wouldn't be a deposition, I get a criminal investigation. You ask, did you steal the money? And you're like, yeah, of course I stole the money. No, what do you think? And you're trying to be like a rhetoric, right? You're trying to convince them that you didn't actually steal the money. I'm not good at this. What would be an example of somebody actually saying the truth but trying to mislead, being sarcastic to try to mislead people? That is a lie.
So stick with the screenshot example. Yeah, I faked the screenshot. Sure.
Exactly.
Whatever.
That's a lie. Even though she's telling the truth, that is under the philosophical understanding a lie. Even though the information wasn't false, what she was saying.
Because you want to make it more complicated. I ask somebody to make the screenshot for me. I then knowing it was fake, put it out claiming it was true. Then when somebody says that's a fake screenshot, you faked this, and I say, oh yeah, I faked the screenshot. Not only am I lying in like 3 different ways.
Exactly.
But I'm obfuscating the initial lie. Because the initial lie is I knowingly put out false information with the intent to deceive.
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it. There's a lot of people that do obfuscate, and their term is actually prevaricate when you're trying to. Okay, if I'm being asked questions and I'm trying to be evasive, right? I'm prevaricating. And it's not necessarily that malicious, right? It's not that malevolent that to people to just prevaricate. People prevaricate for various reasons, I think, and I don't think it's always going to be something that's harmful. However, there is something called paltering. Paltering is where you literally are trying to deceive people to gain some kind of self-benefit. A con man will palter, right? And so those kinds of lies where you are prevaricating in what you're saying to somebody is a type of paltering.
Snake oil would be a good example.
Yeah, so yeah, you're being very insincere. You're being you're a snake oil salesman. That's what his thing is just paltering, to lie to people to get people to buy a product that doesn't work.
I think a good example of that would be people who either make up or or just like throw out random garbage onto YouTube for views. So, because what people are buying into is they're buying into them, they're monetized on YouTube, so they're lying to people to generate revenue, whether or not whatever they're saying is true or not, and whether or not they're falsifying it themselves or knowingly put out falsified information.
I agree. Yeah, I think
So,
that the people that palter
a snake oil salesman, right? A snake oil salesman is no longer necessarily somebody just selling out of the back of a buggy. It's people who are lying on the internet for views, like knowingly so, would be that. That to me, I would describe that as a con man, because they're lying for monetary gain, specifically.
Yeah,
they're trying to sell something.
That's what they do. That's exactly what it is. And like a treat feline points out, sarcasm is often a lie, but only technically. Yes, a sarcasm is a lie. Again, unless you're a Hume person, right? For a person who follows Hume's way of looking at, or not Hume, Kant, a Kantian ethics person. Kant would say you should never lie, right? His motto was basically always tell the truth, right? No matter what, you always tell the truth. Now, I think that's untenable. I think if we had a society, would you want a society where everybody always told the truth? It would be pretty brutal.
So here's the first problem you would run into that I think would probably, that people would notice, that they would view as problematic, is media. TV shows, stories, movies are now all impossible.
Well, no, yes and no. Okay, I go to the standard model. A writer who's writing a fiction is not lying to somebody, right? However, there is a type of writing.
No, but producing a live performance of that story would not be possible.
Well, but that's not a lie, though. I think the way a story writer would be a lie. If you're writing a story that's a true story, and you put it out as a fictitious story, right? But using real situations that actually happened, that's considered to be a lie. But again, not a malicious lie, not a black lie they call it. But,
of a fictional story, sure, because it's fictional. There's no lie there. You've been straightforward that this was a fictional thing that you're talking about, or like a hypothetical. But the acting to portray that, to act, you have to convince somebody that you're not who you are.
Yeah, but remember, the actor doesn't actually believe what they're saying, right? So that would not be considered of a lie, because they're not, when they're acting, they're not believing these propositions are true or false, right?
It's the intent. It's just not negative. No. It's the intent to deceive.
Unless the actor actually believes it, that's not lying. Now I understand people use that term. They say, look, when we're watching a play, we're being lied to, to try to suspend disbelief, right? And I get that. But I don't use the term that way, right?
World, it is impossible. You've removed deception. You've removed the ability to lie from the world. I don't think you'd be able to. I don't think acting would be.
We couldn't function if again, we've realized, even as a virtue ethics person, right? There are times to virtuously lie to somebody. Again, I've used the example of people on their deathbed. And they say, we pray with me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll pray with you. Now, are you
dead body?
What's that?
I said, Steve, will you have sex with my dead body? I'm on my deathbed. It's my dying
she's really into that. I don't know what it is. Somebody can have that conversation with her on her channel. She really wants me to have sex with her dead body, and I do not know why. I don't get it, but
would you tell
she's
me
putting in her will too. But I'm not obligated to do that. There's no obligation.
Would you lie to me? Would you say yes? I'll do that for you.
And that's the thing. Would I lie to her on her deathbed and say, yes, I'm going to have sex with your dead body after you're dead? If it comforted you, perhaps. Only because, again, I think there are times to virtuously lie for comforting. But would I do it? No. So yes, that would be later.
Listen. My dying breath will be fuck Steve.
Well, throw a me in there if you want to be.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Just me says, like, over my dead body. She's being literal. Again, so we have to throw in something with necrophilia or something. I don't know. Anyways, so
brought up deathbeds, and I'm like, no, we're going back. We're throwing that joke right back.
All right, so so the condition so far is one, there has to be a person making a statement to a person. It has to be that you believe that it's false, right? You're making it's called the untruthfulness condition, is that I know that I am making an untrue statement, right? So again, if I believe like 0.99 repeating equals it doesn't equal 1. If I believe this and I'm trying to convince somebody of bad math, I'm not lying, right? Now, if I convince somebody of that 0.99 repeating doesn't equal 1, knowing what I know being equal to 1, now I'm a liar. I am actually lying to people if I try to convince them otherwise, right? So there has to be an untruthfulness condition. It doesn't mean that the proposition has to be false. It just means that you have to believe that it's false.
Right. Yeah. So I could not believe something and act as though I do, even though whether or not whatever it is true or not. So I don't know. Fucking that one's, I don't know. I'm not thinking of a good example right now. My brain just.
I think the biggest one is what's called there's also the addressee condition.
Am I lying?
You can't lie if you're a goblin, only a person. Yeah.
Oh, right.
But again, the addressee condition is person to person. The other one, I think the big one is the intention to deceive the addressee, right? That, I think, is the real litmus test as what is constitutive of a lie. If I am trying to deceive somebody, now again, doesn't have to be maliciously, right? There are virtuous lies that you can tell somebody to intend to deceive them, but that doesn't make you a bad person or a liar, right? Because with the term liar, we reserve for very specific conditions of repeated lie or people that know they're lying, and it's usually for self-gain, right? And that's right. So somebody who lies virtuously, if I say, hey, Chess, again, let's go to the mall because they're fumigating your apartment, does that make me a liar? No, that's not how we use the term liar, right? A liar is not just anybody who lies. A liar has connotations to it, right? And some of the connotations for the word liar is that a person repeatedly lies for self-benefit.
Yeah, maliciously with I would argue maliciously also.
Yeah, I think there's always overtones of malicious. It depends. Like there are times I could see people lie out of self-preservation, and they're a liar, right? But they're only trying to have self-preservation rather than be malicious to somebody else.
Sure, but if I'm going to label somebody as a liar, they don't, at least this is the way I use the term, not only do they lie regularly for self-benefit or self-preservation, they do it with A, at least a disregard, or B, with specifically malicious intent. Usually it's both.
Yeah, no, I don't have an objection to that. I just think it has to be very, very careful on that term is, again, if you have somebody who, again, is just like,
I call people liars. I might say somebody lied, but that doesn't just because you have lied, liar.
Okay, but look at Bill Clinton, right? When I did not have sexual relationship with that woman, that was a lie, right? And again, he was equivocating, he was prevaricating, no question about it. But there was no malicious intent there. It was just self-preservation, and that obviously is a lie. There's a couple different types of lie. One of them is equivocation, and that's exactly what he did, right? He's what is sexual relationships?
Yeah, I'm not saying that all lies of preservation are malicious. I'm saying if I'm calling someone a liar, then it's likely that they've lied often enough that they've done both. They've lied out of preservation.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was probably unclear.
Yeah, I definitely think that those. So you're saying, if I understand you correctly, that people who tend to lie for self-gain and self-preservation also tend to lie maliciously, in your experience. Okay, and I've found that to be the case too.
And or they will lie with their preservation will be at best disregard the harm that they're doing to others directly or indirectly.
What about okay? What about? I'm sorry. What?
I said, and I think that's malicious on its own. If you're lying out of preservation to a degree that you are disregarding either purposefully or unpurposefully, I think that's malicious. Like disregarding the harm that you're causing.
Yeah, I think that's the ambivalence that you're talking about. I think is prevalent as well.
Why is not malicious? The intent might not be malicious, but the negligence is malicious.
Yeah, one of the some of the objections of the terminology for lying is called deceptionism versus non. Well, there's different types of deceptionism, but a simple deceptionist approach would be that. You're not having any kind of breach of trust, right? When we have a lie to somebody, it's basically a breach of a bond that we have that we are going to be telling two people the truth, right? The cooperative principle, essentially, right?
Right.
When we're having a conversation, we have a kind of a unspoken pact in most conversations that the person is being an honest interlocutor, right? And so when they lie to you, there's a breach of trust there, right? And you no longer think to yourself, is this person going to be telling me the truth in what they're arguing to me, right?
Yeah, but which is where you run into problems with people who are contrarians. Because if you're a contrarian, you're arguing, you're doing argumentation that you don't necessarily believe in. And if you're not clear and that's the conversation that you want to have, and you're not like very much like, listen, I'm playing devil's advocate, what about this or this? If you're an aggressive contrarian, you're just frustrating because the other person isn't, one, necessarily aware that you're doing this, and two, they're assuming that you're an honest interlocutor. And when you be obstinate or purposefully obtuse for the sake of being contrarian, you're just making the conversation nigh impossible. Because it's annoying as shit.
Yeah. Why have those kind of conversations? Now,
well, you're
what I notice is this too.
Now it's one thing to enter the conversation with that in mind. So if you agree to have like a conversation like me and Steve are having, and one of us says like, listen, ahead of time saying, hey, listen, I don't necessarily hold this, but I'm going to just try and give you pushback in every way possible to solidify either your argument or whatever's going on, then there's an understanding going into the conversation, so you don't necessarily have to take it as seriously. But when you do it on, like, say, Twitter or in calls without telling, like, the other person hasn't agreed to that, you're an asshole.
Do you think a lot of people, because they don't really take the time to actually to learn the nuances of these things, and so a lot of people, what I would describe them as called non-descriptivism, non-descriptive. Non-deceptive. The non-deceptionist approach would be this: for a non-deceptivist, that just means that you can lie without having to actually try to deceive somebody. You telling somebody a false statement, you saying an untruth, that is a lie to a non-deceptionist. Now, I don't subscribe to that particular model. I think that's just saying an untrue statement. Yeah, just saying an untrue statement does not, to me, constitute a lie. I would be what we call a deceptionist. It has to require deception.
Yeah, which includes intent.
Which includes intentionality. Yes, exactly. Intentionality is a big thing. And I'm glad that you use that term, intent, because an intentional states like believe, and like, for example, a potential state believe means that I believe something, right? There's a content to be had there, right? So I believe is what's called a intentional verb, that I have a content. So I believe this. And when you're lying to somebody, you're trying to get them to believe something else. There's an intentionality there to do something to change what they believe in or disbelieve or whatever. So yeah, I think that's important to how I use the term lie. And I see a lot of the non-deceptionists out there who just say, oh, well, you said a false statement, you're a liar. You're lie. That's a lie. That's not how I particularly use the word. I think, again, it makes more sense to me to say a person who is lying has the requirement of deceiving somebody. And if you don't have that deception, because again, this goes on the whole acting thing, right? Are they really, as an actor, really trying to get somebody to change their beliefs, right? Well, no, they're just getting them to enjoy the show, right? There's no deception involved there. So, but you might say, well, they're telling something, they're making a statement that's not true. That is a lie. So, in your use of the term, as a non-deceptionist in that case, um, that's how you may look at it. Well, by the way, there's no right or wrong on this.
So, $4.99 from Ilya says, just popping by. Love you guys. Heart.
Thank you, thank you, Moon.
Okay, so the way I kind of like to look at art, because I think it's kind of the way my brain breaks it down and kind of the way I enjoy viewing it, is, at least for myself, I don't necessarily view other people's art this way or other people as artists this way. Just the way I view myself when I'm working on something is that I'm trying to trick you. My goal is to have you look at some pixels or look at some lines on a page to trick your brain, to make you think you're looking at this thing. So it ends up being, so basically you're looking at a flat screen, and my goal as an artist is to make you think you're viewing a 3D object or a person, and that you believe that person is conveying some kind of emotion, and you buy into whatever emotion that person is convincing. So you think you're or is portraying. So I'm trying to trick you and your brain into feeling or into thinking something it's just lines on paper.
Yeah. Now, I don't think that would satisfy the statement condition, though. Again, lie has to be a verbal or a signal of some kind, something communicated. A symbol, a type of signal. It would be, again, I have to have some kind of information be conveyed through a message of some kind, and I don't think an art actually technically does that. There's no actual coding of information in it. It's aesthetics, but so I don't think an artist tries to lie to people, right? It could deceive maybe, but an artist can't lie to somebody through a piece of art. The way I look at the word lying.
So I mean, well, what about propaganda art? Like propaganda posters.
Well, yeah, but usually they have some kind of writing on it, right? They usually have something on it.
It's not the art itself that's the lie, it's the message it conveys.
Yeah, the physical art isn't, but you can have a message conveyed through art. And so the thing is, part of that would almost be like the marketing and the representation of the art. If you just hand somebody a piece of paper and you don't say anything and they just look at it, they're going to interpret that. So because of that, it's all up to you to interpret that, sure. But if I put posters all over the place, I am clearly trying to convince you of whatever this art is saying, because it's being presented as art with a message, and you're already based on the context of when, where, who you are, that this is an expected message from this art. So that's what you're supposed to be inferring from it. So when you put that caveat on top of it, so like propaganda art, you're supposed to take away a specific message from it, and that's the intent, right? But if you were to just somebody had no context and you gave them a picture and it's like Trump being like, ooh, with a flag in the back and like a woman on his leg, and he's just like this big buff dude, and he's like you're supposed to think that this guy's a heroic ultra Chad.
Yeah, no, I think you're using a very nominal uses of the term, which is fine. Again, you're saying that an artist or a propaganda in this case is lying to people. Now, again, it doesn't meet the requirement of a person conveying information to another person, but you're using it in a more nominal sense of you're being lied to by like a government, right? The government's trying to give you propaganda. Again, that's a different model of the term.
Yeah, I don't think it would fall under what we're particularly talking about, but because lying is complicated, it would fall
in the
under
philosophical sense. We're not saying they're lying, right? But in the nominal,
it would
colloquial sense, then
another.
Let's see here. Okay. I'm gonna. This coffee's going through me more than usual, so I'm gonna step out for a second, and then we'll get back to the questions. So, can you cover it for? Yeah, I'm telling you, this coffee went right through me. So I'll be back in a second.
Damn. So, Boole, what's your favorite lie that Kyle told?
Oh my god. Well, I guess it's hard to pin that one down because it's just there's been so many. That's a tough question, to be honest with you. I guess the 95% one, because
thinks about that.
That's such an obvious thing. 95%.
The 95% one.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you tell the world you're doing 95% of the work. There's an intent to deceive the world that you're doing all this work for the non sequitur show. Never mind what I do for the non sequitur show. Never mind what Steve actually does for the show. No, it's all about your artwork, and it's just such a petty lie that it's funny.
It's just petty and unnecessary, yeah.
Yeah, petty and unnecessary has no bearing, is a complete non sequitur to the court case, ironically.
That's not even a good lie. Chat is saying, so R&D GD Gaming said, I have a lawyer and Steve will be paid. His two favorites. M-Doc says that he had a lawyer and an accountant. Those are good ones. I don't know what my favorite is. I have to think about it.
It's a tough question. It really is. It's like, because he just keeps telling lies. He doesn't stop. Everything he's said since the breakup of the non sequitur show has basically been a lie. Everything he's said has been a lie.
The graph showing he paid himself more than the actual income of non sequitur show. Yeah, that was a good one.
That's a good one too. The non sequitur show owes you money. Sure, they do.
That's better. Wait, money? Hey, I'm getting paid? Non sequitur show's paying me finally? I'm getting some money out of that?
Nope.
No, we're discussing at this point which of Kyle's lies was our favorite.
Particular August discovers statements. I will produce the document.
Well, his first one was that he did 95% of the work. That was his first major lie.
This is his first public one anyway. Followed quickly by I have a lawyer and an accountant.
Yeah, those would be. Yeah, I mean, he knew that they were false statements.
I've decided. I know what my favorite is. It's not the forged signatures, but it's related to them. It's when he said one was signed digitally and one that he had a physical copy of the one that was signed on the kitchen table. I think that's right.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. This is what's called a element of a crime, perjury, right? So for perjury, the statement has to be false. You have to know it's false or believe that it's false. And in this particular case, it's made in front of two witnesses, right? In this case, it was my lawyer and Kyle's lawyer. So in front of two witnesses in a deposition, he made false statements with full intent to deceive, believing and knowing that his statements were false. He meets all the conditions of relying under oath. Perjury.
Yeah. That's
one of the reasons why the judge actually wanted to have depositions, to see that, when the judge said, if such as a lying to me, I know what to do with it, and if such as such lying to me, I know what to do with it. That's what he was trying to get at, is who's going to commit perjury under oath. Because in a deposition, when you have two witnesses, it's open and shut. He meets all the conditions, right? The elements of the crime are already there. It's already been established that he did lie. It's already that he did know that he, had put out information. And he was willing to do it before, because he changed the notary, right? So he had means, opportunity and the intent to deceive.
It's even.
And the court reporter, yeah, exactly.
It's funny as hell too that he's sitting there in his deposition, literally explaining how he altered a document with Adobe.
Yep.
Which is exactly what the documents that were submitted to the court were.
I like when he said that Ruhif wasn't an expert, and then later when they were asked, well, what does he do? He said he didn't know. How do you know he's not an expert then?
All right.
But I have a question. I want to know if this constitutes a lie. So sue me.
No. What would be the lie on that?
Because it is there's an element of grandeur. There is an element of
Well, it's meant.
It's not a lie though. It's not,
the way
it's not
he
lie. It's not
the way
false.
he stated it. The way he stated it was rhetoric. Like, I dare you. It was
Was
a
it-
dare.
It was an intention to intimidate.
That's just not the thing for a lie though.
He did not at all believe you would sue him.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's one other thing I forgot to mention before I get into questions, because I think goes back to your dog. The dog, can you lie to your dog? It's something called moral deceptivism, and moral deceptivism is the condition that you have to have the intent to deceive to violate somebody's rights or their moral position, right? So if I'm lying to, like, for example, parents lie to their children all the time, right? I mean, Santa Claus is a lie people tell their children, right? The Tooth Fairy is a lie people tell their children. Some would argue Christianity is a lie people tell their children, right? If you're one of those atheists out there, these are things that people say that parents will do to their children. Now, is that considered to be an actual lie? Not under the moral deceptivist approach. For a moral deceptivist, they will say that that's not a lie because children and dogs do not have the ability to comprehend a moral judgment or value, and so they're
So you're telling me you lie to a rock not capable of believing you.
Yeah, basically, right. So you're not depriving them of any of their right of what's called right of liberty of judgment. So, that again is a moral question, right?
Now, the minute you tell a child that Santa Claus is real, though, and they say, "No, he's not. You're lying to me." Then you are lying to a child.
Yeah, if they have the if they have the capability to understand, yeah, then I think that because then again, that does become a moral question, right?
Okay, so where does that put the person who believes what their church is saying earnestly and then tells other people that this is true?
Well, they're not lying though. Again, if they believe that the church is true, they don't meet the condition of believing the proposition is true or false. They can have the intent to change somebody's mind, but they're not trying to deceive anybody, and they're not believing what they're putting out. So that's not a lie. Now, that's where I see a lot happens with people with on YouTube. They're like, "Oh, such and such Christian lied here," and I'm like, "No, they didn't." And they're like, "Oh, Steve, you're just an apologist." I'm like, "No, that's not constitutive of a lie." This is why I'm saying we should reserve the word lie and liar for very specific things. And you don't have to be exactly like I do. Like, I do follow moral descriptivism a little bit, but at least don't throw it around so ubiquitously. It's like every time you turn around, somebody makes a false statement, and as what's called a non-deceptionist, they say, "Oh, this person made a false statement. That is lying." That's so rudimentary, and it just doesn't. Yeah, it waters down the term.
To be more precise in language, in this case of saying, "Hey, just because it's a false statement doesn't mean that they're lying," but also just because it's a true statement doesn't mean they're not lying, because that is a really annoying thing to try to explain on Twitter. If somebody says something that's true and you're like, "That's a lie," and then it's just now you have to explain like 7 different layers of how this is
like, "Oh my god, I've got databases of stuff. Where do you want to start?" Right? And it's weird when somebody will be like, "Oh, well, when I say, hey, look, I've heard this accusation. Where's the evidence for it?" It's because I've never seen the evidence for it. Every time somebody's ever said, "Well, Steve, blah, blah, or Cheshire, or somebody, they said this is false, but I've never seen the evidence." We put out the evidence. It's out there. We've done it so many times. It's ridiculous. It's just they're not paying attention. They don't care. They're not looking for evidence. I can tell you, people have been sea lying.
So somebody could, I would probably make the argument that somebody says, "Well, I've never seen the evidence," and this is somebody that we've dealt with for over 6 to 7 years, or we know that they've been provided that evidence and they haven't looked at it, then they're lying. It's not that they haven't seen the evidence, it's they haven't consumed it, listened to it, actually watched it, and analyzed it appropriately.
So if they say, they're still lying about this.
They might be telling the truth. That could be a truth statement that is a lie. Yeah. They've been presented with it, or they've been provided with it, and they refuse to do the footwork or refuse to acknowledge it, and in which case they're not they're telling a truth statement, but they are lying.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. But the thing is that I can guarantee it. Almost every of them have seen what we put out before, and for them to see line and say, "Oh, they want to see it." What's the evidence?
I don't have time to look at it. I don't have time to look at it, but you have time to sit here and argue that I'm lying on Twitter.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's the difference. When we ask people for evidence of people lying, we've never seen it, and we're asking legit. We're not trying to see lying to anybody. I've never saw evidence and then asked, "Oh, where's your evidence?" If I've already seen what's been put out, but we could ask for that, and we're like, "Here, go look at Cheshire's playlist. She's got videos of all the evidence we put out of things before people lying."
That's
ridiculous. I got a playlist of people lying.
All right, let me put restrictions on myself because fuck that. Golden Unicorn for 5 says, so am I correct in pointing to point someone out on Twitter as a liar when they keep on repeating false rhetoric that has been debunked? Give me good pushback.
It depends if on the mens rea, right? It depends on their mind state. They have to believe if they're telling you the truth. Now, if there's some kind of troll, the chances are they probably believe what they're telling you. They don't believe what they're telling you. They're trying to deceive you, and they're just trolling you. At those points, those are straight up lie. A false rhetoric, right, is not necessarily a lie if the person actually believes what they're telling you, right? They might just telling you misinformation, but they're not actually believing it.
Actually, I'm going to give Steve a little bit of pushback on this. What if they believe something due to confirmation bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and malicious intent? So the reason they believe the thing that they do is dishonest inherently.
Epoy has a great super chat.
Yes, Wafer 5 says, Steve, I'm bad at lying. Also, Steve, before Non Sequitur show turd hit the fan. Everything is okay. There's nothing wrong with Non Sequitur show.
Yeah, no, look, I will take, look, I downplayed it. I admit that. That's one of those things that, a lot of times people don't want it to if Bull, here's the thing, right? If Bull and I would have put out all the stuff that we had on going, what Kyle was telling us and the problems behind the scenes, it would have done and nobody any good, right? And so I did downplay it. I'm not going to front on that.
We definitely knew things were.
People knew that there were problems, right? And I would tell people, look, I was trying to be as honest as possible. Like, there's things that we're resolving, right? And I would like to have believed there was nothing wrong at that point when I probably said that. There was things that we're resolving. It was just typical normative type stuff that we go through when we have videos and partners and people we deal with. But the last month before the Non Sequitur show broke up, if people would have asked me, I would have been telling them that there's some major issues going on. I think Bulliner actually was telling me. I know Reds was, because he was like, let's have a meeting with Kyle.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. I think there's reasons why we downplay things. Sure. Yeah.
Well, keep in mind also that at that point, Steve was also being lied to by Kyle.
Well, so not only that, as Steve was trying to give Kyle as much charity as he could.
Oh yeah.
And in doing and something I've noticed about Steve, and I've noticed it about myself, is we tend to give people charity to the point of self-detriment.
Wrong with you too.
Self-detriment.
Well, people noticed I was on the show last, right? And I'm like, oh, it's fine. I've worked, because I was like, okay, Kyle says, he's going to be doing this. I'm like, okay, we agreed with this. And I was like thinking, okay, do I really want to think the worst of Kyle? I mean, do I really want to recognize that he is a dishonest con man? I didn't want to have to come to terms with that. I'm sorry. I knew once that happened, that things were done. So, I wasn't trying to be self-deceptive, but I was trying to push it back as much as possible and give him every ounce of charity as possible.
Yeah, that's what it boiled down to, was charity from both of us to him, I think.
Correct. But here's the thing, in the end, did not Kyle, I mean, there's no question about it, did not Kyle, without question, lie multiple times, even under oath and to the court? This is objective. This isn't subjective of did he believe it or not. This is an objective fact. He submitted false evidence. He committed perjury. These are objective statements, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, there's
there's definitely some objective lies. There's definitely some objective lies from you.
95% is an objective lie.
As soon as he said that, I should have called him out on it, right? Like 95%. Really, Kyle?
Yeah,
What
I
the
was
fuck
like,
am I?
oh,
Chop liver,
okay.
you fucker.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, you got Dave doing.
Such a stupid statement.
Well,
Well,
what
I mean,
about the hours of rendering David McGinnis did for the Golden Nuns? Did you do that? No.
Well, here's the thing. Look, we had Jules V on last Caffeine Corner, and you had showed her the behind the scenes vmix that you have to use, right? It is a high learning curve. It is something that it's not like OBS. It is definitely not like OBS. It is a lot more complicated. But I mean, there's stuff that goes into production values, and then, of course, there's getting the guest, right? I mean, I got most of the guests there for the longest time, and I would spend hours trying to find people, and I also was the one thanking the guest.
And let's be fair, too, the caliber of the guests that you got versus I hate to say it, the silliness that he brought to the show. Like, he brought in some good guests, but he also brought in some really, really kind of like, so what kind of guests, and then some of it was just going down a road that was not part of the channel's initial philosophy. It was not part of the channel's initial.
I'll ask both of you. The term liar, would that be appropriate to use to describe Kyle? In any type of world,
yes.
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 Usage. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Kyle is a liar. Period. That is how I use the word. Kyle lied under oath, under penalty of perjury. That I don't know how else you would use the word, but a liar.
So here's the thing. This is something that I think people will find in most relationships. This doesn't just pertain to Kyle, and just doesn't just pertain to romantic relationships. When you're in a relationship or a partnership or agreement with somebody, you have made a commitment. And you don't want, an honest person is not going to want that commitment to fall through. Hell, a lot of the time, the dishonest person is not going to want that commitment to fall through. So there's an attachment there that you're going to want to hold on to that for sometimes a lot longer than you should, or a lot longer than it would be reasonable. So you start to excuse things and look for any positive thing that you can. And in doing so, you can sort of maybe not be lying, but at least being deceptive to yourself and maybe to the people around you. So like if you're in a bad relationship, you might be more likely to be intentionally deceptive and to lie to your family members who are worried about you, or to your friends who are worried about you. And you're like, oh, no, everything's okay. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. But really, you're like, I am not okay.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. But I mean, I've been in relationships where, been outright lied to by my significant other, people that I've been with for years. And again, I still gave them, even back then, before I really even dived into a lot of these concepts, gave them principle of charity, because I didn't want to believe that they would outright lie to me. And I'd do everything in my power to help prevent myself from calling them a liar. To me, calling someone a liar is a very, very harsh thing. And so it wasn't until there was no escape, right? It was inescapable conclusions that I had been lied to.
You down and be like, so this, right? And he's like, well, and I'm like, no, right? And he's like, yeah, I can't really argue with you. And I'm like, so what does that mean? What have we learned?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't like to call people I care about liars at all. And, but people have to make a good argument for me, right? But when you say, look, when you came to me and you say, like, this person lied, and I'm like, okay, let's evaluate what they did. Because, again, shooting from the hip, it's hard to determine whether they've actually lied or not. And I will defend people that I care about, or my friends, from that accusation, just shooting from the hip, because I want more details on it, right? But then, you come to me and go, well, look, here's the conditions, here's what they said, here's, they blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's kind of an inescapable conclusion that they did lie, right? But you have to make an argument for it, which you did.
But I also don't get offended when you give me pushback and be like, okay, but really though? And I'm like, yeah, here, let me show you the ways.
The big thing is, did they believe, what they were saying? Did they, that's to me is the biggest thing, right? And for me to recognize that a friend believed, didn't believe something they said, therefore it was a lie because they're stating an untrue statement that they don't believe. That's harsh for me. I still don't like that because I've had to deal with that so many times. People that I thought were my friend recognizing after the fact that they really did lie, and then they knowingly lied. I mean, that sucks. That's one of the worst things on YouTube, I got to admit, is that people that I thought that I could trust, recognizing and that I can't, right? And that's why I don't throw around that word a liar very, very casually. Like, Bull, Bull, have I ever said that you've ever lied to me? Of course
I'm
not.
aware
not
of.
Once. Yeah, not once.
I don't think I've ever said Bulls lied. I've asked Bull to lie for me once though, but it was a surprise. it wasn't like
it was
a cover
nothing,
for my.
It was nothing. It was for nothing as nefarious as what Kyle asked me to lie about. That's
right.
The
it was
like Kyle's
I don't even
intent
remember.
in asking me to lie. Kyle's intent was very much malicious against me.
I think it was a birthday party thing. I think it was a birthday.
I think yours was
a
birthday party thing. Josh,
again,
so
those are fine. I don't have an issue with those from a moral standpoint at all. But all right, you want to get into the questions?
I don't think, before we move on, I don't think either of you have ever caught me lying.
That's what I can find. Not that I can recall, no.
Yeah. Listen, if you're gonna lie, do it well. Don't fucking embarrass yourself. Have some goddamn work.
My main criticism of you, and again, it's nothing bad or good. It's just that you have a tendency to want to engage with some shitty people, and I don't understand why. I mean, like Keon, Gary.
I barely do. Okay, listen.
You're fascinated by these guys.
There's like two that I enjoy. Most of the time I don't deal with any of these people because I just don't sort of waste my time. Keon, I think, is hilarious. Keon is just, I see him, I can't help but laugh. And so, like, every so often, because he keeps me blocked most of the time, but every so often he pops in and I'm like, this thread has been blessed by Keon. Retweet for good luck for the rest of your day.
She's kind of hyperbole, people.
I can't.
She actually did that.
And
she actually put has been blessed by.
I don't actually, like, I don't have a dislike for the majority of these people because I don't know these people. I wasn't friends with these people. I didn't interact with these people beforehand, so I have no frame of reference of who.
I can't. Was just odd that we picked up along the line.
Right, but there are others that are part of that you were in that group with, that you were friends with, that you interact with, people that you thought were your friends and are now going around saying these awful things to you and essentially stabbed you in the back in the past. I don't have that history with these people. The only interaction that I have with these people is them being shitheads towards me for no reason. And so I don't know them, and I don't have that personal connection or that personal beef with them at all. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So, like,
but you do understand that because I have a personal connection, I look at things from a very, very different standpoint.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely like far more hurtful or harmful towards people who have this connection, who thought these people were friends. And so, out of respect for that and things like that is one of the main reasons why I just don't bother with them. Is because, like, I have no intention of my interactions causing harm to the people around me because, like, I'm not that callous. So because of that, I tend to just not deal with them for the most part. Keon does not count for that because he's fucking hilarious. Keon is like in a special.
He's hilarious because he's so intellectually challenged to the point that yes, I could see why you find humor in it. I do. But he's also malicious.
And
he's dangerous.
I think half the time,
maliciously stupid.
Absolutely dangerous. He is absolutely dangerous. He is absolutely harmful and malicious, purposefully. I also think he's purposeful. Like, he purposefully tries. Like, I think he's trying to be funny sometimes, and just watching him is like, I'm doing it, Mom. I'm gonna be a hero this day. This is the day I move forward. I'm a failure.
And I can imagine. I wonder if he wears underoos. He strikes me as the guy of, like, pretending he's like a superhero wearing underoos or something. I'm sure he's done
failure. I have a link I'm gonna send to people that can play for us because it makes me happy. But the other person that I'm willing to deal with is Gary, and the reason I'm willing to deal with Gary is because of a completely separate reason, completely outside of whatever drama garbage is going on. Because I honestly think I understand what he's trying to say, but it's almost impossible. So I want to bring him on to see if I just want to see if he's able.
I love that quote. I don't know what the hell he's trying to say with that. Oh God. Now Inkboy asked you, Chesh, who's more special, Keon or Mr. Intelligent Design? It's a hard question because I know what's special. It's like Mr. Intelligent, I got no problem with. I'll talk to Mr. ID. He just drives me nuts, and I can only take him in small quantities because killing brain cells. But he's not malicious. He's harmless. He's like one of the harmless guys in the world. Keon is malicious, and Keon is dangerous, in my opinion. He has done things that I find to be morally egregious. He will target people. That, to me, is dangerous. That's how I'm using the word dangerous. Do I think he would actively physically harm anybody? I don't even know. I don't know what kind of sociopath the guy is. But when I see some of the things that he has done online to target people, to actively target people and be proud of it, those are the people that I tend to avoid and I don't want to have anything to do with. Now, Cheshire, on the other hand, she's willing to take those chances and she somehow finds them fascinating.
I don't... Okay. I can't help but giggle specifically at Keon. Like I can't help it. I wish I could quit you. And I don't know what it is, but it's just fascinating, and it's just I can't help but because I don't want to harm him. I have no intention of causing him any kind of stress. But I also don't seek out to go to have conversations with him at all. It's just when he comes by,
nobody does. He interjects himself in these conversations, and again, I'm not in any of these conversations, so I just kind of extricated myself completely from it.
If you could play that with sound in the little box, Bool. I sent something to Bool. Gary, on the other hand, is honestly, I think I can help. I think I can help reach an understanding. But that understanding is about what he's trying to say. I don't think I'm going to agree with him. That's going to be a whole nother conversation.
Do you want just the sound, or is that what you're saying, or do you want?
No. Play the video. Just put it in the little box.
I love the fact that Karma was trying to understand what the hell Gary was saying, and even she was like, "Dude, I don't know what the hell you are saying right now." I'm like, "See, it's not just me.
I was dying. She was
never talked to him before. Said, I don't. She's like, I don't know what the hell you were saying. We call him Mushmouth for a reason because he talks exactly how he writes, and it's incoherent.
So the thing is with that is that he got really upset and was saying that Gary got really upset and was saying that people weren't trying to address his points and that people were just making fun of him so they didn't have to. Except here's the issue with that. And I don't know if we'll get into that tonight. By the way, Gary's coming on my channel tonight if you want to go see that.
See? Traitor.
This is the conversation. I was stabbed Steve in the back.
I don't know if I want to watch
the problem with his line of thinking there is that he said something. Karma responded saying, I don't understand what you're saying. He called her an idiot by calling her a hick, which he then clarified to say that he specifically meant to say that they were unintelligent, not their geographic location. And then started complaining that people were making fun of him because, or not addressing his arguments because of his grammar or whatever. And it's like, you want people to take you seriously, but you're not willing to explain what you mean or speak in a way that's coherent. And when people say they don't understand you, you call them stupid. Then get mad when they start picking on you for being like, no, I'm not dumb. You're incoherent.
But Josh, he claims to be a textual critic. Meaning he has understanding of literary devices, understandings of reading comprehension. That to me is bone-boggling. Because he
I have
has
a couple
no
questions.
coherence.
I have a couple questions for him about consistency. Because he'll like get he'll like be, oh, you can't start a paragraph or a sentence with the word but, and then
Why?
proceed to use zero on Twitter. And it's like,
Why?
okay, so what you're
First
talking
of all,
about
yes,
is
you can.
classical
Why can't
essay
you do
writing.
that? Yeah, I'm sorry. but
In
you
classical
can do
essay
that.
writing, you're not supposed to do that. It's a rule that it's a bendable and breakable rule depending on what type of and what style of writing that you're going to do on, or if it's fucking Twitter. But so it was really bizarre because he was saying you can't do this, and then proceeded to just be like, nobody needs commas, and it's like,
that's a weird prescriptive bullshit. Because first of all, starting a sentence with and or but, yes, you can. You can also dangle participles with split infinitive. Everything they taught you in grammar English, grammar school English, is not necessarily the case.
End a sentence with a preposition. You can do it.
Yeah, I mean, the English language is very flexible when it comes to these kind of things. There's no hard and fast prescriptive things on those types of topics, and also your style of writing. I guarantee it. If somebody went to Stephen King and said, "Hey, look, don't start a sentence with a but," he'd be basically like, "Screw you," So yeah, that makes no sense, especially on Twitter. Because Twitter. Well, yeah, but Twitter, you generally don't go after people on Twitter for improper grammar or typos, because we all do it, right? And I find that people that come after me for misspeak, you can tell the quality of people that they are. So I don't do it with anybody else unless there's a reason. Right?
Like, if I'm not taking the person seriously.
Well, yeah, but they're continually doing it, and they want you to be taken seriously, and they're also malignant, right? They're being harmful to you, and they're also incoherent. Oh, but no! You give Jamie Russell wants to give an example of that. That was an example. But give like the first one you ever were exposed to that you were like, "What the hell is this?"
That's something that Gary typed. I don't think what thinking is. It's
read the whole thing.
Tweet. It's just. Oh.
Do you have the whole tweet?
Yeah, I can. I can get it. It's on my phone. We'll get back to this.
Let me play this video real quick. I've actually got that in our history cache.
Yeah.
So we'll play that.
Don't let anyone get in my way. I'm a failure. After all that hard work, I'm not gonna let.
Start it from the actual beginning so they can hear the whole thing, because it started like a couple seconds.
Repeating. It keeps repeating, and it does not give me a restart. This freaking video site.
Anyone get in my
but don't
way.
pause it.
I'm a failure. After all that hard work, I'm not gonna let anyone get in my way. I'm a failure. After all that hard work, I'm not.
Is it your representation of Keon? This is Keon.
Yes. I'm not gonna let anyone get in my way. I'm a failure.
If I can find the original.
He dedicated his life he dedicated his life to, for whatever reason, to try to expose us for some strange reason. I have nothing to do with the guy. I don't know why he even mentions my name. I have nothing to do with the guy.
Steve, you just need to apologize to him for some vague thing that he's not going to explain what it is. And otherwise he's going to dedicate his entire life to you, which could be over soon.
I'm telling you, people are psychotic, man. All
okay.
Right. So let's get into these questions. All right, ready? All right.
Yes.
So this is a play along with the live chat. So lie or not a lie?
Yes.
And these are rather subjective, but
two in the chat for is a lie. Not a lie?
Wait.
Is a lie.
Okay, so 1 is not a lie, 2 is a lie.
Not a lie.
1 is true, 2 is false.
1 is not a lie is 1. A lie is 2. I think they're lying, put 2. All right. I think they're lying, put 2. Now, again, we're going to be going by the standard approach, but again, there's different modeling, but according to the standard view of these things, at least we'll discuss it that way. Ready? Okay. Question number 1. During an interrogation, a person is asked, quote, "Where is your partner hiding?" The criminal believes his partner is staying in a safe house somewhere outside of the city, and in order to throw the cops off the partner's trail, replies, "He's in a bar downtown." The cops go to the bar and find his partner is actually there by chance, and they arrest him. Did the criminal lie?
Yes.
Yeah, and why do you think he lied?
Because he was right by accident, and he
He
intended
was right by
to
accident,
deceive.
right? He intended to deceive, even though he gave a true statement. He's in a bar downtown. That is a true statement, right? That is not a false statement. So the fact that he lied is not contingent upon the statement being false, right? But he intended to deceive under an interrogation where you have an onus to tell the truth, right? There's an expectation of telling the truth. So did the criminal lie? Yes, he lied. All right. Number 2, a group of people during voir dire, which is jury selection, are sworn to tell the truth during jury selection. My own question. A group of people during voir dire are sworn to tell the truth during jury selection. They're asked if anyone knows the defendant on trial and asked to speak up or raise their hand if they do. One of the possible jurors happens to be related to the defendant, but does not speak up and remains silent. Did the possible jury lie? And did the possible jury commit perjury by remaining silent?
So, under philosophical terms, I would say so that you had 2 different ones, right? You had the deceptivist what was the other?
Yeah, there's
Okay, so
deceptionist, non-deceptionist.
Yeah, the strict definition would say yes, and the not strict the strict definition would say no, the not strict definition would say yes.
Yeah, the strict definition requires some kind of communication, kind of information. However, in this particular case, there is something being conveyed. When you have a jury selection, right, and you have an expectation of a response if the question is being asked, it is a lie, even though you didn't actually make a statement. Normally, you have to, under the general understanding of lying, you have to convey a certain kind of statement, right? You have to say something or do something. Right? It's like if I message to you in smoke signals, that is lie, even though I'm not verbally saying it. But you're conveying some kind of information. They're conveying that they're not related to that person because there's an expectation under the specific condition to raise their hand or speak up. Now, this actually happened. This actually was a case where the juror did not speak up, and he was actually the brother-in-law of the defendant. It came out in trial. During trial, he was charged with perjury. It's not necessarily. It is a type of lie of omission, but a lie of omission isn't. This is a little bit. I think a little bit different because in this particular case, there's an expectation of being honest. And if you don't ask, if they say raise your hand as a signal, if you know this person and you don't, you're not being.
You're
honest,
signaling
right?
the.
So that's more than just lie of omission.
Yeah, it's not a non-answer. You have answered by not being forthright with the information because they're asking you to be forthright with the information.
Yeah, if Cheshire asks me questions and I don't say anything to her, or I'm not lying to her, right? If I don't make a statement, because I'm not under any kind of oath to tell the truth, as there is there, right? So
yeah,
I can't. There's no moral imperative for me to tell her the truth. I can actually say, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to take the fifth. There's no problem with that. It's not lying if I don't tell her anything.
That's what the fifth is all about: is that you can't make inference on silence unless it's specifically stated that we are going to take your silence to mean that you don't.
Yes.
Then it's an inference based on the silence.
Correct.
Yeah, Incoherent makes
explicitly.
Silence could be communicating information in certain conditions. Yes.
Yeah, and this guy was prosecuted.
So a good example of that might be what we saw with the non sequitur show blow up, or the stuff that we see kind of happening with one particular, definitely a lawyer guy. There are people who have not spoken out about his garbage behavior, and that silence can be deafening. Particularly if you've had him on your channel.
Yeah, it's notable.
So what it's doing is that silence conveying a message. Now, whether or not that person actually believes that message that it's conveying, see, this is the difference. That person isn't necessarily making a statement. However, their actions, because they're doing things publicly, and they're publicly not saying something, but are publicly taking this action, forces people to have to infer something that may not be true about that person, right? So when you take actions, particularly in the public sphere, then you are responsible to a degree for how people are going to respond to that based on their interactions or their understanding or the behavior of the person that you have on. So is Steve responsible for the shit that I do? No, but if I do something pretty goddamn awful and Steve just doesn't ever address it, and it was a very public thing, no, Steve should be. Like, the silence is essentially condoning it. It's allowing it to continue. Steve should absolutely be saying something. Now, maybe he should come to me in private first to address it and make it stop. But if that doesn't work or that doesn't happen, then absolutely he should be saying something, saying like, listen, I don't agree with what Chesh is doing. I don't think this. I think this is really awful. I've talked to her. I've done this. And depending on how extreme it gets or how bad it gets, he should be getting rid of me because of my garbage behavior.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree with you to a point. Look, I don't think anybody has an onus to get involved publicly. I don't think that they have an onus to. However, like you said, that word hypocrisy, when they just turn a blind eye, a willful blind eye, and then they seem to support them. That to me is egregious.
Is not being involved. That's the trick.
I don't know. That's a good question. It kind of is actually. They're involving themselves. Yeah. So
exactly. If you choose to bring that guest on, then you are choosing to. You're making a statement. You're saying that whatever they're current, provided you're aware, and provided that like you haven't said anything. So an example might be the Jimmy Snowflake being on with Kyle, streaming to the Non Sequitur show and to his own channel while he was well aware of what was going on. He's made a statement, even if he never made any other statements. Let's assume he is making a statement that he is in fact supporting Kyle and doing this, that, X, Y, and Z, despite knowing what's been going on, right?
Yeah.
And so when you do something like that, and if you realize that that's an error, to not make a public address or a public like, no, I made a mistake, or no, I do support this person, fuck that other guy, or whatever, or let's say, I had him on for these other reasons. Like, you kind of address your reasoning and what your stance is about that thing. So, for example, you could bring up Warden. You had him on, gave your reasoning for why you're having it on, and gave your reasoning as to what we are and are not talking about. All of that was very, very clear. So there is no ambiguity about condoning what he does now or does later or did in the past.
Never was, which is kind of funny. Why? Because
but you were clear about it. However,
yeah, but how many people have stood by and said nothing? Why people are character assassinating me on that? People that I trusted,
right,
have stood by and done nothing.
But you've got people who are willingly having some other people on that are well aware of what's gone on and are well aware of it, and they're allowing it to exist and signal boosting the person, and that includes their behavior.
Correct.
And their accusations and their lying.
And that I find to be morally egregious.
Right. Social complexities when it comes to having a show, having guests, having YouTube. I would have no problem if somebody decided to have somebody morally reprehensible on their show. I would have no problem if somebody had somebody morally reprehensible on their show who has been like coming after me specifically or lying about me or saying some more like egregious things about me. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is the silence about what your stance is about this person's behavior. That's the problem. It's not saying, oh, you can't have this person on. No. You can have whoever you want on for whatever reasons. I'm not going to say you can't. However, everybody comes with baggage. I knew the flack I was going to get when I started associating with Steve. Not when I started just talking to him the very first time, but when I knew I was going to be doing shows with him, I knew what I was getting into. So I knew that I was going to have to deal with this, that, or the other thing, and I made that decision, and I'm whatever. That's you might not make that same decision. Not everybody is in the same place as I am, or they're not the same person I am, and they don't have the same experiences I do. So not some people might view that as a bad decision, a bad either marketing decision or a bad decision for this or that or the stress or whatever. And not everybody can handle being on the internet, and that's okay, and that's fine. But I'm going to have Gary on, but I've been very clear about my stances about what he's saying.
And I haven't said anything about. I was like, right? I mean, I'm like, don't have him on, right? Because I know you're not supporting him, right? That's the difference. Now, if you start promoting his stuff and saying, hey, this guy's a paragon of virtue, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I'm going to call you out on that.
But I also didn't get upset. But I'm also not going to get upset giving me pushback or asking why I'm having them on the show. That's not an offensive thing to me. I'm not being attacked. It's just people that are wondering what my reasoning is.
They don't know that we've known this guy for half a decade, you know. So these are not just random people. These are people that we actually knew at one time. But anyways, all right, let's go back to the questions. Gold, you had something?
Oh, I if anybody wants to know what Gary's entire statement is, I have that prepared right here.
Sure.
Let me pull that up
you read
on
it like
screen.
Cheshire read it?
Well, Cheshire can read it because it's Cheshire holding the signage too. So here we go.
All right, here you go.
Oh, it's all blurry for me. Hold on, I'm gonna wait for it to pop up on the outside. Give me a second.
All right. I'll ask
I almost have
questions. We're getting out of the way. A person on a witness stand believes that he saw the defendant commit a certain crime. The person, however, is mistaken, and the defendant did not, in fact, commit the crime. Someone else was found guilty of it, and the defendant was found innocent. Did the person lie on the stand?
No.
No.
It was a case of mistaken identity. That's what that's called.
Right. Again, but this is something for a non-deceptivist would say, well, they made a false statement. But no, because there was no intent to deceive there. And that's what I'm saying. You have to be real careful when you throw in the word lie because, oh, well, this witness made a false statement. But that was, an honest mistake. That was not an intent to deceive. And they believed what they, had said. That's not a lie.
Right. Okay. Are you ready?
Hmm?
I have to prepare because there's no.
It's a mental thing she goes through.
Grammar.
Well, there's no break. There's no pauses in this at all.
I don't think what thinking is don't know me. All this is just looking for an apology for the victim is all I don't care if you wanna tongue Steve and Cheshire's arseholes, nor do I want no. All I do care about is what is right.
And by the way, this is not a one-off, right? Again, I don't criticize people's grammar or typos or spelling because I'm not the world's best by any stretch of imagination. But this is every tweet that he has is like this. This is how he actually is normally.
This was a one-off thing, if this was a one-off thing, it would have been funny and we would have never spoken it again. But
it's not a one-off thing.
It's every time he tries to make any kind of point other than I disagree with you, it's that kind of shit.
There was a build up to that one, right? So there's like a whole thread, and then eventually it got to that point, and I was just like, I'm keeping this. This is mine now. You made this. Yeah. I made this.
Yeah, I don't.
For 5 second question.
Well, real quick, Gary has dedicated his life to that guy David Ward, and that's fine. He could do whatever he wants, but I don't know how he's relating it to me. I have nothing to do with this dude. He's on my show one time. I
had him on your channel.
I made videos about him.
Steve.
I'm seriously. I made no videos about the guy. There's other people making videos. Why does he fucking care what happened a year ago? It's really bizarre. His life is
not when you boil it down to the original intent, which has nothing to do with Earl David Ward.
I don't think he
is a means to an end when it comes to Houston. That's all it is.
But if he is fixated with this guy, then he can go to a couple 100,000 people and go after them if he shows and choose. I don't know why he goes after me when I never made a video on the guy. I made one about with it, him, but I don't make videos on this dude. He's nobody to me. Go ahead.
Inkboy for 5 said, question, are infomercials a lie if they are presented as a review? Is it a lie if they are not represented as review to people who do not know the difference?
Okay. Technically, no. And one of the conditions when you're lying is that there's something called polite expectations or polite company lies kind of thing. And this is one of the people when they watch an infomercial, people know that infomercials are not quite honest, right? They have an understanding. Just like
I
one of the
think that there
examples
are
often used.
people that don't.
Well, that
I
might
think
be
that there are
true,
people
but I
that
mean, generally speaking, these are cultural type things. These are societal expectations. It's like if I go to your door and I knock on your door and I say, "Hey, Chesh, is your mom home or something?" And then you say, she's unavailable, right? That, we understand that when somebody says that person's unavailable or the person's not at home, the canonical was the madam is not at home when the door servant comes to the door, right? Or answers the door. Is your master or madam at home? And they're like, master is not at home. These are societal things that we understand to mean something that connotates, hey, they're not going to talk to you, right? They're unavailable. Right?
Yeah.
Whether they're available or not, right? Whether they could be watching TV or something, we don't really, under the standard approach, that's not a lie.
I think there's a I would say that a lot of media is deceptive, but not a lie. So particularly when it comes to advertisements, specifically advertisements, almost all advertisement is showing you the best possible thing the product could be, not what it is. So it's not a lot. It was like, so you would be asking essentially, well, is a picture of a Big Mac, let's get sponsored by McDonald's, is a picture of a Big Mac on the poster a lie? It is photoshopped. It's created in like the photo. There are photo tricks to make it like if something
Most
got
of the time
sauce
it's
on
not
it.
even real food. It's not even real food.
Yeah, it's definitely deceptive. Now I wouldn't call that a lie though.
What is a lie? Right, exactly. So it doesn't fall as a lie, but it does fall under deceptive, which
Sure.
might be an argument as to why that there may or may not that they're manipulative and deceptive purposefully.
Yeah.
With the intent of selling you something, with the intent of taking your money. Now, that is kind of what we describe the con artists without the lie part.
Well, just like there's equivocation type lies. There's a couple other types of lies. One's called exaggerations, and then one's called minimization. So people that tend to minimize things, that could be constitutive of a lie, or it could be exaggeration. People that exaggerate, that's lying, right? Tall tale syndrome kind of stuff. Like people that have mythomania. These people are
the one-up syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. So they're exaggerating, but they're not lying. They're being deceptive, though.
Right, and so there's a
exaggerated lies. Yeah.
Now these might be arguments as to why there should be or shouldn't be more regulations around false advertising, or there should be adjustments to the false advertising laws.
Yes.
So another example is what they show you on the ingredients list on a package. If you don't know what you're reading and you don't read it carefully, because they try to put things in a way that will make it look like it's better for you than it is. One of the best examples is the measurement of sugar, because the measurement of sugar is hidden within like 3 or 4 different things, so it looks like less. Right? So it's deceptive. But they're not technically lying.
Well, I mean, but again, go on the clothing line stuff. You know how many? Every one of those adverts are going to have some deception in some ways. A lot of them are Photoshop. But yeah, it's just an advertising that the whole goal is to convince you of something, and most of them will do so using somewhat deceptive means. All right, let's get through these real quick. I'm probably not going to have time for all of them, but I had 10. I wrote.
I do have
time.
And that's just about so a lot of time incels will say, like, people who are or of that persuasion will say that makeup is lying. If a girl is wearing makeup, she's lying and presenting herself in a
that's a perfect segue to the next question. A criminal wears a wig and a disguise to rob a bank. Is a criminal committing an act of lying? Makeup would be the same thing. What do you think?
I mean, they're robbing a bank, so
but are they lying? Like wearing a costume or a woman wearing makeup, is that lying?
I would say no, because they're not conveying. There's no interaction.
making an
There
actual
is
statement.
they're not making a statement. They're saying that they're presenting themselves in a way and letting you make whatever assumptions you're going to make. They're not telling you something or sending you a message. There's no person to person.
Yeah, it just doesn't meet the statement condition. It doesn't meet that, and also the addressee condition, right? Because you have to be talking to you're addressing somebody to try and convince them of a statement that you're making of something that is deceptive. But yeah, that's not lying.
Interesting Truth said, then I guess wearing clothing is lying too.
Push-up bra is lying. Yeah, padded bra, the lying. A group of criminals believe that they're okay. I like this one. A group of criminals believes that they're being monitored by microphone surveillance by the FBI, and they start saying false information about their criminal plans to throw the FBI off. Are they lying to the FBI?
Yes.
Technically, no. Or at least under the philosophical standard use of lie, because
they're talking to each other. Yeah,
they're talking to each other. Eavesdropping does not qualify. Or listening in, that particular thing. People listening in a conversation. You're not lying to the person listening in. You have to lie to the addressee, and you're not addressing the FBI.
And the lie would be the lie part of that would come in when you use that information to deceive somebody. That would be lying.
So
not the actual hearing what you shouldn't hear. Hearing what you shouldn't hear is not in and of itself a lie.
But legally, like, think about this. A lot of this goes into men's arena for like a legal type of thing. Think about this. If they said, "Hey, look, we're going to like criminally charge you for lying to the FBI," they're like, "But they didn't." Right? So that they cannot be charged with lying to the FBI because they didn't directly lie to them. Right?
Lie to the FBI. They were deceptive.
Right. They were deceptive, but that's not necessarily a crime, right? Yeah.
You getting tricked does not necessarily mean the person lied to you.
Correct. That's why it's another importance for the reason for law in law the terminology for what it constitutes a lie, especially again for perjury, which we'll see, I'm sure, coming up with Kyle. All right.
Would that qualify for the people who were stupid and thought I was 17? Nobody lied to you. You just got tricked because you're dumb.
Oh yeah, you didn't lie to me, but you didn't. Well, you did you actually say? Would you ever actually say, "Yo, I'm 17 and I'm trying to convince people of that"? Because that never happened. Yeah, so you didn't lie to anybody. Yeah. Then you didn't lie about that. That's their own fault.
Never says I lied about my age.
At one
it's
point,
full of shit.
at one point, you might have been sarcastic about it. I said, "Sure, I'm 17."
I've been sarcastic.
I am. I'm 17. Right, sure, I'm 17.
But that was after it was a well-established joke. That was actually the person I think who first did it on stream was Nick Suter.
Yeah.
Shocking. Cheshire asked me if she looks good in a certain outfit, and I reply, yes, even though I think it looks hideous on her. Did I lie to Cheshire?
Yes.
Yes.
Why you lied to me, Steve?
That's a white lie. It's a noble lie. They call it a noble lie or white lie. But that would be considered what's called a lie. Now, it's not a malicious lie. Now, however, there's an argument to be had if I.
That might not be. Could be malicious.
Well, I'm not reading too much into it, but there's an argument to be had if you said this looks good on me, and I say, I don't think it supports your body type, kind of thing, right? That would, because that's the truth. Let me think of a way that would be deceptive, but you kind of know that's. What's a good answer for that? Where you're lying, but people kind of know that lie is somebody being polite.
I would probably.
Because that's the case of the cultural thing, and it's not necessarily what's called a lie.
Well, okay, so if I asked you if you think my hair looks good, and you actually don't have an opinion on my hair, and you say, "Yeah, you look fine," then you're being polite to me. You're being nice to be like, "Yeah, no, there's nothing like wrong with your hair."
Yeah.
Right, but it might not
particularly. I think it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. However, something like that could be deceptive. So if there's a big event coming up and I say, do I have something, like, does my outfit look good? Is this a good outfit to wear to the thing that we're doing? So let's say there's like a non sequitur event, and we're going to do what we do here in a live setting. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wear this. Does this look good? And you say, yeah, it looks great, knowing I look like shit on purpose to make me look bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. I agree with you. That would be horrible. I'm going to do that.
That would be
I'm
malicious.
definitely going to do that. Giving you a heads up.
It
Don't
could
ask
be
me
for
about it.
it could be for personal gain. It could be because you just want to look better than me.
I already do.
You're a narcissist.
I found two words that were described to me that I don't think a person understood either of them. Called malignant. No, they said I was a megalomaniac.
Do you expect
Narcissist.
me
I'm
to
like,
do
those are
this?
words you don't understand. What? Cool.
And Trick Feline says NSS Europe tour. Heck yeah. I'm down for a European tour. I'll go.
If somebody wants to call me a megalomaniac, they need to reevaluate their life's choices on their education, because there's just absolutely nothing about me that's I think antithesis of that. It's bizarre.
Trump is a megalomaniac. Kyle
is
is a megalomaniac.
All right, let's see here. Oh, here we go. This is a good example of what I was trying to do before. Again, I wrote these. I just forgot about it. But Cheshire is shot in the stomach. And she asked me if she's going to make it. But I believe she isn't. And I tell her, it's going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. Did I lie to Cheshire?
Wait, do you believe that I'm going to be okay?
I know you're going to die. I know you're going to die. I'm just being polite.
So you're...
Again, a cultural thing. It's not considered a lie. It's not considered a lie because we understand the connotation of that, where I'm just trying to placate you. I'm just trying to give some palliative care to you.
But the thing is like, you could be not lying, because I could survive if I did. So if I did survive down the line...
No, you're going to die. You're going to die. And by the way, the next question kind of raises the question of who shot you.
Before you move to the next one, I am a little bit disappointed because you had an opportunity here to say that Chesh was shot in the heart and Steve's to blame. Or someone's to blame. And then say that they gave love a bad name.
In a general usage of the term lie in the philosophical context, because it's a cultural thing, and there's a connotation of I'm just trying to be, so sympathetic to her and try to console her. That's not what would be called a lie. Although, again, in a non-deceptionist point of view, a non-deceptionist would say yes, it's a lie, but I don't subscribe to that point of view. So it depends on your perspective. Again, no right or wrong answer. Is it to you? Is this a lie or not? I'm a deceptionist in that case. I think that there has to be a component of deception, and there has to be a component of
I would rather if I was shot and I'm gonna die and I say, am I gonna make it? Please respond. And you don't think I'm gonna make it? Please respond with, nah, bro, you fucked.
You bro. Hey, if you're in that situation and I say, look, can I have your stuff? That's how you know you're not going to make it. Can I have your stuff? You're done for. Right?
You're gonna want my stuff. Who's gonna take care of the dog?
Oh, we would make sure Puck's okay. Yeah, we would make sure.
Yeah, Mr. Sirius says you just want to take back your dead body sex rule before she dies.
Yeah, well, she can take that back. Yeah. All right, last one, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Number 10.
Yeah.
I asked Kyle if he lied under oath, and he replies truthfully, but rolls his eyes and says sarcastically, like he usually does, yeah, right. I totally lied under oath. Huh. Did Kyle lie to me in his response, even though he's telling me the truth?
Yeah.
Because it's not intended to convey truth. It's intended to convey sarcasm.
That is
the intent
and contempt.
You can tell a true statement and lie, even though the statement is true. It's a lie. Yes, it's a lie.
I'm gonna get shot.
I don't know who shot you, by the way.
You don't know who shot me? Are you lying?
These are how I look at you and other models.
You've shot me.
Anyway.
Next fan fiction stream. Oh my God, Steve shot Chesh. Steve sent an assassin to take Chesh out because she had 95% of non sequitur show ownership.
Sure, you want this stuff.
Oh, or
But
once.
anyway.
I already have it.
Yeah, no, people don't get that. Obviously, that she's in charge of everything. I'm just here for the looks. I'm here for the eye candy. I can say that about myself.
I did hear, yeah.
All right, what do you guys want to wrap it up on? I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much everything. Bool, you have some streams today, right? And I have some streams today. What do you got going?
One more tonight rather. It's at 8 Eastern time. It is on Without a Freaking Clue. The channel is called Without a Freaking Clue, and we are going to be talking about Without a Crystal Ball, the non sequitur show, and all that.
What time is that?
When?
8 p.m.
8
Eastern?
Pacific? Oh, it's 8 Eastern, right? What time? But Chesh's
Eastern.
got her thing. What time is your thing, Chesh?
Oh, it's at 6. So.
Oh, yours
Hers
is
is
way earlier.
Hers is in 2 hours. Mine's in 4.
Oh,
They will not.
I'm going to watch it eventually. I don't know if I'm going to watch it live. I'm more likely to watch you and Without a Freaking Clue tonight rather than Chesh and Gary live. I can watch that anytime. But whatever. I'm still going to watch it.
There's no conflict. You could watch both of them.
Yeah.
And Chesh and Gary should be
4 hours of video tonight, man. I don't know.
I'm mildly interested in it because I just want to see what Gary's actually trying to say. Like if we ever get to that.
I want to know what his fucking I want to know what his fascination with this guy David is, and why he thinks that I have some kind of defense for the dude, and why he gives a shit about my justification for at least having him on, and why these people are like lying about what I've said and trying to manipulate it and make it sound like I'm some kind of defender of the dude. I don't know. It's weird, and why does he have such a vested interest in it?
The first thing we're going to have to do is try to figure out what the fuck it is he's actually trying to say. I think I know what he's trying to say, so I'm going to try and help him. So we'll see. So if anybody wants to come to that, that's here, provided he shows up. I have no reason to think he's not going to show up, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt to be like, yeah, he'll probably show. He showed up on Redz's channel, so why wouldn't he show up on mine?
He'll probably
Good. Have fun with it. Boy, like I said, I knocked yourself out.
Yeah, we're going to be going max. We're going max charity. We're going max patience. I'm going to open a bottle of wine.
Can you imagine Gary drunk trying to convey something?
He might sound better. You never know.
Nobody's heard it.
Sometimes that
a
works.
lot of people don't know what he sounds like. I do, and Bootleader does, because we've had conversations with him. He's very difficult to understand as it is. Yeah.
I did not shoot her. I did not. It's bullshit. Oh, hi, Mark.
The Gary whisperer.
All right, I'm gonna try and give Gary a chance tonight, and we'll see where it goes. There is no intention of harm. Can we get a disclaimer that says there's no intention to harm in the making of this video?
Oh, I don't give a shit if you. I can't stand the dude any longer. I mean, he's so annoying.
No.
He's like a lapdog.
With that, I disclaimer for like our shows in the future that it.
Why do I not remember him from that? Why do I not remember him from talking to him or anything?
Gary, you don't remember Gary? Phony Beetle Maniacs is what he went under.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
Okay. Now
that's Gary.
A whole bunch of shit just clicked in my head, Steve. Shit in my head that didn't need to click. Just click. All right.
Maniacs.
So people are asking when we're going to have the next call-in show, Steve. Should we do that maybe next week?
Yeah, I think so. I think we could probably do that next week. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Hell yeah. So since you guys are asking in the chat, we'll do a call-in show next week.
All right. Well, like I said, we just kind of touched on the topic. This is a big topic. If people want to go learn about lying, I highly recommend it. Because again, we see it a lot on the internet, and people misuse that term a lot. G-Man, $5. Yeah, I'll read this one. G-Man, $5. Steve, contact me over Skype later today if you can. Okay. I'm not sure why. But
Yeah,
okay.
we're gonna find out.
We'll find out.
Right,
Yeah, go find out.
I'm gonna eat first, but I will hit you up on Skype, G-Man. Okay. You didn't have to super chat that. I would have.
Like how
Thank you.
Like, I don't want to watch Chesh's thing. I don't want to watch Chesh's thing. I'm so curious about all these.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to G-Man in years, and I'm not quite sure what is
No,
up.
not
But
G-Man.
why
Like,
not?
I'm curious about all this Gary stuff. I'm not going to watch Trish's thing, but I'm so curious about all this stuff. But no,
I have
no,
the
definitely
Gary
talk to
thing.
you.
Well,
Yeah,
G-Man remembers Gary.
different Gary, Steve.
All right,
Jeez.
Show.
I mean,
All right, let's get out of here. My show is in 2 hours. Wool is in 4 hours. We will see you guys later tonight. Tons of content coming at you from the GDC
Yay.
Jam. Yeah. What? All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.